Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. John Fuller is in the studio. The show is called Legally Yours, and John is here to answer your questions about the law. John Fuller is an attorney at the law firm of Fuller & Fuller here in Ocala. The phone number right now to call John is 622-9622. We're doing this show on December 17th, 2014. So if it's that date on your calendar, then you're listening to a live show, and we are inviting you to call in with your questions. And I would encourage you to call as early as possible, because a great comprehensive answer is probably the best type of answer. Yes and no's don't usually cut it in the world of law. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. I'm fine. I hope you're doing well, and all of our friends who are listening in, I hope they're having a good holiday season. We've certainly been blessed with some pretty weather, so
yeah,
it's hard to stay inside working.
and so far, I liked it. It was cool on Thanksgiving. Yes. It was cool during the parade. Now it's warming up to Florida again, and maybe next week on Christmas it'll be cool again.
Well, I sure hope so. It adds a little spirit to the season.
Today's Hanukkah. I don't know if Jewish people care about cool temperatures or not, but it's not so cool today.
Well, it's not raining and it's a beautiful blue sky, so we'll take what we can get and be grateful. So anyway, yes, this is an opportunity. We invite folks who are listening, if they or their family, friends, loved ones have a question. We practice at the law firm of Fuller & Fuller. My partner and my wife, Janet, who focuses her practice on Social Security disability. I do personal injury, wrongful death, and negligence actions, business, commercial litigation, some specialized, not specialized, but complex family law cases. So if you have been in an accident or have a dispute involving a business or commercial transaction, or if it is a complicated family law matter, then we certainly would be happy to talk with you if you want to call us at the office. That number's 352-547-4292. But the fun part of this show is we get to talk about not just a specific legal question, which are often difficult to answer, and I'm always very careful about specific answers without knowing all the facts. But it does open the door to discuss something that I think is important to all of us, and that is our legal and judicial system and how it works and what to expect and that sort of thing. So we welcome your calls, and it's always a pleasure, and enjoy chatting about the legal system. While, it's not perfect. I see a lot of things in the paper that distress a lot of people, and understandably so. But if you look at the judicial systems throughout the rest of the world, I think it's been said and established that we don't have, hey, there goes Bob Houck, Mr. Radio, Mr. Ocala Radio. Okay. Yes, he is. He was founder of the predecessor station to this, and he's a great fella. He and his wife, Carol, have contributed so much to this community and established this station. Did all kinds of charitable things when they had it, as the Martone family and you and Robin have continued to do. But they did great things for the community, and we're better off for them. And it's good to see Bob walk by. For those of us who may not be familiar with your studio, it's at the Paddock Park Mall, and it has a huge window, so we get to see people going in and out. And so when I comment on something like that, that's how it happens when someone goes by and waves.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about being here. So why does a judge throw on a 10-year probation sentence when somebody has an 80-year prison sentence? There was a story this morning. I don't. The details of the story is not really what I want to ask about, but he's a 50-year-old man. He's got an 80-year prison sentence, and then 10 years probation after that. Why do you put that on there? There's no way he's going to get to that point.
Yes, that's a good observation. I really don't know, and I read the article quickly this morning, and I know nothing about it. It was somewhat interesting in that the judge said that he had been instructed that it was recommended that judges not make statements at certain times when they pronounce sentence, and he was choosing not to make any statement, which is his prerogative. So we don't know. I honestly don't know what he was thinking, or what was the factors that led to 80-year sentence, 420s running consecutively.
Yeah.
A lot of times the court will sentence to multiple sentences because basically it's an offense that has been committed more than one time. So they charge 4 different counts, which is perfectly appropriate under the law, because each action, if it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt to have violated a law, that in and of itself is something that is a punishable action. So it was all certainly a legal sentence, discretionary with the court. The court has the discretion to sentence, and based upon having heard all the evidence, he was there in the courtroom,
right.
Heard all the evidence, and I have heard other judges, when verdicts came back that the community was highly incensed about, and the media had a field day with writing critical things about the jury. The trial judge spoke in defense, saying, the jury and the court and the participants were the only one that sat there for 8-9 hours a day for 10 trial days and heard all of the evidence. And they're the only ones that saw the witnesses and saw how they answered questions and how their demeanor was. And for anyone to second guess a verdict or a judgment of a court who has not had the benefit of being there and seeing there and hearing all of that is very unfair. And you certainly cannot draw conclusions. And this isn't a criticism of the media, it's just a reality. A reporter can't afford to sit 10, 15 days, 8-9 hours a day in a courtroom to write one story.
That's right.
They pop in.
That's true too.
They sit there for an hour. And I've been practicing law 41 years, and I couldn't go into a courtroom in a case that I knew very little or nothing about, sit down and listen to the trial for an hour or an hour and a half, and then walk out and summarize what was going on in the courtroom.
It all, yeah.
It's just impossible. So people should unless you're there, it's hard to make any comments.
We invite you to call John right now. Maybe you're familiar with a legal circumstance, somebody in your family, maybe you yourself. Let's hope we can get you through it and give you some promising hope. But John is here to answer your questions. And just to remind you, today is Wednesday, December 17th. So that tells you whether you're listening to a live show or not. And the number is 622-9622. So, let me get to the phone. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with John.
Yes, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Hugh calling. I wanted to kind of make a comment. You're talking about judges and courtrooms and everything. And that my stepson here just recently had to appear in front of a judge for some traffic violations and stuff. And he was with a group of about 5 or 6 other guys. And he happened to, good thinking on his part, he wore a suit and a tie, and all these other guys shirts were hanging out, and they looked like they just got up out of bed, And when it came to my son's part of it, the judge pointed out the fact how nicely he was dressed and stuff, and basically he got off of everything that was he was accused of, and the other guys, the judge more or less threw the book at.
Well, I think that's an important point. The rulings depend upon the facts, but when you're sentencing someone, you want to judge many things. You want to get a full picture of the individual and what he did, and not just look at the bad, but take all of the issues into question. I think that was a wonderful idea that young man did that, because what it says is, I respect the system. And I'm going to dress appropriately because this is a serious matter and I'm taking it seriously, and I want the judge to know I take it seriously, and he has the authority to make rulings over my life, and I want him to know that I respect that, I respect the law, I respect his courtroom, and even if I've made a mistake, this is who I really am. And I think that's not unnoticed by the court, especially when you're dealing with young people. It's a very important thing to show that we have respect for our system of justice.
Well, it was a great learning lesson for him, as he says, and hopefully he won't have to go in front of a judge again, but if he does, he knows what to wear. And thank you very much for your comment.
Yes, thank you for calling in.
It's an important message, too.
I hope he doesn't go before a judge again, because sometimes wearing a coat and tie may not work as well the second time.
Wow. All right, we'll take a little break and we'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating, there's no accident. For today, turning out partly sunny with a high of 69 to 73. It'll be mainly clear tonight with a low of 39 in the coldest inland spots to 48 on the coast. There'll be some fog patches late tonight into tomorrow morning. Otherwise, mostly sunny tomorrow with a high 67 to 71. On Friday, a nice day with a mix of sun and clouds, high 70 to 74. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
This weather brought to you by A&A Lockdock. Did you know that most break-ins happen during bad weather because it masks the sound? Don't be another victim. Protect your home and business today. Call A&A Lockdock, 352-867-1965. That's 352-867-1965.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Happy holidays from all of us at WOCA.
Yes, it's that time of year again. Christmas Days at WOCA, and we are in the spirit of giving. What you need to do to win is call us when we ask you to, and we'll put your name in the drawing. Remember, you can only put your name in once. You may win a certificate from Pac Mail, or one from Ocala Utilities, or one from Downtown Jewelry and Pawn of Bellevue, or Dance Alive, or... So listen to put your name in, and listen to win on WOCA, The Source.
Dad's service to our country is something we're all proud of. He made a difference and set a great example. Now it's our turn to honor the sacrifices he made for our family and his country. As Veterans Funeral Specialist, Hires Baxley Funeral Services helped us celebrate Dad's life, and they can help you too. Hires Baxley is here for you during your time of need or when planning for the future. For more information, call 352-342-9628 or visit hires-baxley.com/visit.
Think unique gifts are hard to find? If so, you haven't been to Downtown Jewelry and Pawn in Bellevue. Frank has something for everyone. Antiques, costume jewelry, diamonds, gold, watches, fine china, art deco pieces, and so much more. Located at 5445 Southeast 111th Street in Bellevue, behind Checkers, a trip to Frank's Downtown Jewelry and Pawn is a must. A little elf told me that the big guy shops there. You should too. And Frank does great repairs.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. Not often that I get to speak to an attorney about Santa Claus. It's always kind of cool during the break.
I'll tell you one thing. It's one of the joyous things of my work day. And I think that's important that we remember. You know, it's easy to get caught up in our daily routine. And we all deal with stress, anxiety. We see a lot of people, everybody in business, in the professions, whatever you're doing, that have real tragedies and hardships in their lives. And we're here at the holiday season, and we're told by advertisers in Madison Avenue we ought to be happy and it ought to be a joy, and it is. But let's not lose track of the fact of the folks who are dealing with the death of a loved one. The loss of a child, horrific injuries from an accident where somebody was negligent and in a twinkling of an eye changed their whole life forever by an accident. People who have serious illness for themselves or their families. It's real hard to put on a happy face and go around, and yet we're so blessed in this country with so many good things that we enjoy that we sometimes take for granted.
Absolutely.
But we all struggle with stress. But at this time of year, I'd like to mention I see a lot of people who are in acute distress because of the things I just mentioned. And one of the things that I suggest to them is, one, try to think of something to do for others. And number two, don't hesitate to seek out professional help. We have some wonderful counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists. That's not a sign of weakness. Mental health, emotional health has oftentimes gotten a bad connotation. And if you're you're going through a divorce, or you've had some tragedy in your life, and you need somebody to help you cope with that, don't hesitate to go to a trained professional. I've seen them help immeasurably with people I represent who needed that help. And they're trained, and they have a lot of tools at their disposal that can help people cope with that. And some people will say, well, I don't want to look like I'm weak or I'm crazy. Well, you're not. You're human. And if you broke your leg and the orthopedic surgeon said he was going to put it in a cast, you wouldn't refuse the cast because that made you weak. You weren't going to wear the cast forever. And people get over emotional trauma in time, but you can hasten that process and you can mitigate some of the stress and anxiety and pain by having some trained professional. And this is a disclaimer, I don't get any kickback from anybody in the mental health profession, but this is a tough time of year to deal with heartache and hardship, pain and suffering, and I see it. And so I want to urge people to be good to themselves and seek out the appropriate professional help. Maybe it's with your clergy or someone like that, but there's always somebody who's there when you're facing things that you just don't think you can handle all by yourself.
Absolutely. Some of the horrible stories that you hear about people who kill other people. And a year ago they got married. So at one point in their life they loved each other, and now one of them is in jail because he killed the other one. I mean, there was a story just yesterday or 2 days ago. The guy who killed his wife, his former wife, and all of her family, and you know that story in Pennsylvania. Yeah. I mean, you think what snapped in him, and then and now he's gone because he killed himself, but.
It's and it's those kind of issues are unfathomable. I don't think anyone pretends to have all the answers, but certainly early intervention with trained professional can be a huge help to
and those
people
are
dealing with stress.
And those are the stories we don't hear. You don't hear the story of the guy or the woman who got put back on the right track.
Right.
Because that's the quiet behind the scenes success of a good therapist.
Exactly so. Yeah. And so I mean I see it in my practice where people will come in, and I've had clients who I could barely communicate with because they could not stop crying. They just were completely, seriously, clinically depressed. They were crying every other breath. You could hardly communicate with them, and I wasn't able to effectively help them because and I suggested that they consider that, and they did. and they got treatment, they got medication, they saw appropriate professionals as we worked through their case. They weren't happy in the sense of seeing the world through rose-colored glasses, but their emotional level was back to a normal baseline, and the issues they had to deal with were still there, and they were troubling and they were worrisome, but they then had the ability to make good judgments and to deal and cope with it. So,
and John, you have a phone call.
Very good.
Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Good morning.
Hey.
It's always great to hear from you.
Thank you.
I tell you what you just said, man, it hits a lot of places. I'm telling you that's worth $1 million. I mean, that message,
Thank you
having
for
been
that.
a social worker and having had issues and lost family around this time of year, the tragic ways, you can never say enough. And having served on the board of when the Centers was Marion Citrus Mental Health,
Yes, sir.
and seeing those types of things and experiencing those types of things, and people don't realize sometimes this type of year, it doesn't, just life itself and health is the best thing. It's not always, that you're going to have money and stuff like that to spend to buy gifts and all, and we oftentimes forget. So I just had to call and applaud you for those comments because they are right on time.
Well, thank you. And for our listeners, you call regularly. I know you, and I've known you probably some 20 years. I just want our listeners to know when you hear this gentleman's voice on the air, he has contributed so much to this community. He has served on a number of very, very important boards. He's contributed his time, his sharp mental thoughts. He speaks out. He's always been respectful, but he's always had great ideas that benefited this community. And Leonard, we appreciate you, buddy, and hope you and your family have a very Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you, and that's the same to you, and certainly say hello to your wife. And
thank you.
I can remember enjoying serving when she served on the Charter Commission with me, and I really enjoyed it. You guys have a good week.
Yep, God bless you.
Right.
Thank you for calling.
All right, bye.
That was nice. Guess we got about 4 minutes left. If you want to call John, 622-9622, say hello and maybe have a question. Maybe this this is the time of year you kind of wonder about legal things, don't you?
Yeah, it's funny. People ask me, what happens a lot in my practice at this time of year is it slows down a lot because people, doesn't mean I don't have a lot of work to work on that needs my attention in the office, and I'm doing research and drafting and preparing for cases that are going to come up in January. But people, I think, naturally don't want to think about their problems during this time of year. They think about them, but they realize that they can't do a lot about it, and it's important to compartmentalize and like we were talking, go out and even though we all have problems at some level or other, be grateful for what you have, try to give something back to some others, and focus on those things, because I assure you, the problems will be there tomorrow to deal with them. And so I have a lot of people who will say, well, I just don't want to make an appointment till after the holidays because I'm just not up to talking about it right now. And I respect that and I understand that, and I tell them to have a wonderful, try to focus on, taking care of themselves, the things we've been talking about.
It is kind of like when two sides of on a battlefield decide, let's call a truce until after Christmas. And so, well, we could do it tonight and tomorrow. Why can't we do it all the time? Why?
Yeah, it's a great point. That used to happen a lot in the Civil War. Sometimes in World War I. I'm not sure that it happened much in some of our more recent conflicts, but it would be. The world would certainly be a better place, Larry, if they took your advice on that.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to convince somebody who didn't celebrate Christmas, who didn't at least respect Christian values.
Well, I understand that, but for folks who find their way to spirituality and their vision of the architect of our lives and universe through whatever channel they do, I respect that and wish them the blessings under the beliefs that they share. That they will have good health and happiness and joy, and I don't think it matters particularly whether you find your way to a greater spiritual being through different avenues. I respect all of those and wish everyone well.
Thank you, John. What is your phone number?
You can call us at the office, 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565.
John, have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. I may see you next week, but I may not. I'm not sure yet. So Merry Christmas to all.
All right, we'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. U.S.-Cuba relations could be heading in a new direction.
The president set to speak from the cabinet room at noon today about a new policy with Cuba.